was mine. So I take ownership for what is mine. And I let the rest of that go. Because to hang on to that stuff, to hang on to this is really who I am, it's too much baggage. It's too heavy. It's way too heavy. And our kids do that all the time. You know, I was put up for adoption, therefore I'm unlovable. No, you're not unlovable. It feels that way because your tummy mama or your biological mom wasn't able to give you what you needed. Your part is to deal with that part of you that feels like you're unlovable. It's not your fault. This is just what we're left with in the experience. So we move into judgments about ourselves and punishment. And we judge and we punish ourselves. You know, if we really look around us, and, you know, I was watching Buck. I think that's one of the Horse Whisperers from what I understand. Buck is a movie for anybody who wants to see it, and he's a horse whisperer, and so he grew up with this really traumatized history, and he would say to the people that, you know, your horse is a mirror of your soul. Our children mirror all of our own stuff. You know, just strictly based in their survival. If I can't stand cursing, my child is going to pick up cursing because I've got a dynamic where I've got to push away the thing that I need the most. So in that, if we look around us, what everything reflects back to us is a mirror of the stuff that we need to still work on. When we lie, we minimize and we reduce. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. What I mean is, you know, I was really sad, but, you know, everything is going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. Or, you know, I was really angry, but, you know, I really just can't be that anger. I've got to let my anger go because it's not going to help me. So I reduce it. So I lie to my, and it's not even lying to anybody else. I'm lying to myself. When I lie to myself, when I minimize it to myself, when I reduce any of my feelings to myself, when I do that, the only thing that I do is I begin to betray myself. I betray the things that I needed. And Neale Donald Walsch, is one of my more favorite writers, and he always says that there is no greater betrayal than the betrayal of self. All of these things, you know, we say to our kids, please, you know, I really want to know how you're feeling. Please tell me how you're feeling. It's so hard for us to let our kids see how we're feeling, and we've got to model it. We've got to model it. We've got to model what crying looks like when we're sad. We've got to model what the anger looks like, what the shame looks like, what the guilt feels like. We've got to model all of those things. And so we can't ask for anything again from anybody else that we're not willing to give ourselves. And so when I honor myself, when I don't reduce and minimize and lie to myself about how I'm feeling, and you know, we do this so subconsciously, and what it is that this is, again, the pattern of events. This is the conditioning that we've had. So being able to become more and more attuned to this is how we begin to let that go. You know, sometimes we can say, you know, that really hurt my feelings, and we're thinking about it in our own head, but then all of a sudden you see someone who you know is going to understand, you know is going to be supportive, and you say, you know, I was really feeling hurt, and all of a sudden all of these feelings come flooding ahead. Asking parents so many times that I work with, okay, just slow down and take a deep breath for me. The second they slow down and they take that deep breath, instantaneously all of those feelings are coming up because we push them down. And so if I'm pushing them down, what am I saying? I'm saying that my feelings are not important. That's what I grew up with. That's what I've been conditioned to believe. So if my feelings are important and my feelings aren't okay, I can't get to love myself, I can't get to like myself, and I'm not going to be able to teach that to my kid. I'm not going to be able to give them that gift as well. And so what we're talking about is changing patterns and blueprints that we've gone through and we've lived with our entire life. And that's not easy. That's not easy for us to do. Okay, so let's make some magic. You know, I always say magical, like we can have these magical healing moments. And there was a lady that came to one of my Great Behavior Breakdown certification seminars, and so I'd say, you know, I'd give an example of just kind of like this magical moment where, you know, maybe mom or dad said something that was perfect, and they had that moment where feelings were able to open up and they were able to move into another place. And so this lady had written me, and she said, you know, when you would say that, I kept thinking to myself, come on, there's no such thing, and you're full of it. And then she went home, and she was able to connect with her son, who wouldn't come near her, and he's this big 16-year-old boy she talks about, and all of a sudden he kind of fell into her lap, and she's holding him and rubbing his back, and all of this thing that she never believed that can happen. So magical moments do happen, you know, and just as they happen in good ways, they happen in hard ways. So let's talk about life-defining moments. You know, we have good life-defining moments, and we have hard life-defining moments. Life-defining moments are the moments when something happens. Example, my youngest daughter is 11, and so she's got her friend over, and her friend are super, they're just really in that really silly place. And they're having a whole lot of fun, and they're being really goofy, and all of a sudden I kind of caught myself thinking, wow, I really just don't even know what to do with all this silliness. Like, I don't even know how to respond to it. And then I said to myself, okay, Helene, what else, one of my favorite questions, what else in your life does this look like? Oh. Suddenly remember driving, I think I was 14, and I was driving with my mother and hit this really silly moment because, oh no, I was actually 16. I was, you know, finally pulling my life together at 16, and things were going well, and so I hit this really silly moment, and I had the radio cranking, and I'm not jumping up and down, and, you know, and just being totally goofy. And my mother looked at me, she turned ahead, and she looked at me, and she said, Helene, you're acting like an asshole. That was it. That was the last silly moment I have ever had in my entire life. We all have those life-defining moments where something is said or something is done, or you're crying and you're saying, Mommy, please, Mommy, you know, I'm really upset. And, well, just wipe it off and you're fine and keep going. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, never going to do that again. And we shut that part of ourselves down. So we all have those really big life-defining moments that make us who we are. And just in the same way that can happen in a bad way, it can happen in a great way. Think about a time when somebody really inspired you. You know, there are words that heal, and I was recently at a conference, and I met the Shark Tank lady, and she was telling these really incredible dynamic stories about how there were 10 kids in the house, and her mom would bring home each new sibling, and she would say, this is so-and-so is really creative. This is so-and-so is really resourceful. And this one is going to be a really great business person one day, and this one is going to be this, and this one's going to can sell anything. And sure enough, every one of those 10 kids, and I thought that was such a great story, every one of those 10 kids really capitalized on each one of the things that their parent had said to them. Just actually a couple of hours ago, one of my clients texted me, and her daughter was really angry at her, and she was saying, you know, you better let me watch the TV, and I want to watch the TV, and then became aggressive because, and everything that this actually was stemming from was that the little girl next door was supposed to come over and play, and never showed up, so she was feeling really rejected. Well, I'm feeling really rejected. I don't know what to do with it. I'm stuck in this really intense place of anger. And so, Mommy, I hate you, Mommy. You're you know, the worst mom in the world. And so what I said to her is I gave her some words that healed. And I said, go in there and tell her, I love you. I'm not leaving. You are the most beautiful little girl that I could ever imagine having, and you are special. You know, what would be so difficult that when our kid is saying, I hate you, to turn around and say, I love you. You're beautiful. You're perfect. You're amazing. And in saying that, all of a sudden the little girl turned around, and this is like huge, huge, huge for her. And she said, Mommy, I'm really sorry. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. That was almost unheard of for this little girl. So using words that heal. Talking to the honorable self. You know, our society is the only society where, you know, we say that true justice, you know, you go to court, you deal with the thing that you did, you go to jail, or you pay for whatever it is that you did, and, you know, maybe do community service, but you pay for it once and it's done. They don't keep bringing you back into court and saying to you, so by the way, have you continued to steal anymore? So by the way, have you continued to curse your parents out? So by the way, have you continued to do that? True justice is being able to pay for it one time and then it goes away. And for us, how many times do we repay and we repay and we repay? You know, if there's infidelity in a marriage, how many years does that go on? Well, you cheated on me. Well, saying to your kid, well, every time I've taken you to the store and you stole, so now I've got to make sure that you're not stealing. You know, every time I've asked you to do the dishwasher, you don't do the dishwasher. And maybe they did it 10 times. But if I move into talking to my child knowing that they're not going to, you know, do the well, they haven't done the dishwasher, and I'm expecting that I'm going to walk back in and I'm going to say, you know what, you need to empty the dishwasher, and I'm expecting that they're not going to do it because this is what they always do. Well, you know what, it is what they're going to do. So what would happen if we found their child's honorable self? If we took that slate, we wiped it clean, and we said, I know that you always want to do the right thing. But that's so hard for us because when we feel manipulated, or we feel like our kids are getting over on us, or they're, you know, conning to do something, it's so hard to wipe that slate clean because of our own fear. It has nothing to do with our kids. It's our fear. Well, if I don't teach you to make sure that you're doing chores around the house, or to teach you to take out the laundry, or I don't make sure that I teach you and we don't process this again and again about you stealing, then you're going to land up in jail, and then you're not ever going to be able to move out on your own, and I'm going to be supporting you until you're 50 years old. It comes down to our own fear. Imagine being younger, messing up, you know, because it comes back to we didn't get that either. Imagine messing up and somebody seeing that we could do something great. Somebody seeing that you really are that special, and it's my job to groom that. And yeah, you can do amazing things. Seeking to understand. In our fear so many times, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, probably 3/4 of us can say, okay, I had the parent that was a lecturer, you know, where they kept telling me what was going on and what I needed to do. It's so hard for us to be quiet and to listen and to really understand, because we move into a place where we want to explain things. We really have, and Brian has said so many times, that we really have taught our kids everything that they're supposed to know. You know, we try and say, well, say thank you, say please, and we try and teach manners. And at home, their manners are atrocious, and it doesn't seem like they're ever going to get it. But then all of a sudden, they go to a friend's house, and you pick up your child from their friend, and they're like, well, your kid has the best manners. Your kid is so sweet. And you get looking at them going, whose child are you talking about? Because I know it's not mine.